Hello everyone, it's AG and today I will be talking about The Way of the House Husband by Kosuke Ono. So I initially started reading this manga for this series that I used to have on my YouTube channel last year called, I think something like Manga Taste Test or something. Anyway, I have read now up to like 5 volumes and I figured I would just do a standalone video for this manga series because it is definitely one of my favorites. The Way of the House Husband focuses on a former Yakuza leader named Tatsu, who was also known as the Immortal Dragon. Tatsu is infamous amongst the Yakuza members for beating up 10 different rival factions in one single night. However, right after this legendary battle, he met a woman and he eventually decided to marry her and thus became a house husband. So that, in a nutshell, is the premise of The Way of the House Husband, and having a stone-cold Yakuza leader turn into this soft and loving house husband is both utterly ridiculous and also incredibly hilarious at the same time. I personally was drawn in from the start. The manga opens with this tough Yakuza guy covered in tattoos, dressing up and putting a knife in his trousers. But then, instead of, I don't know, committing a crime, he puts on this ultra cute bear apron and starts making an even cuter bento box for his wife. So the main gag of this manga is that Tatsu treats everything he does as a house husband the same way he did everything whilst being a Yakuza leader. And the title of course insinuates this as well. Parallels are drawn between The Way of the House Husband and The Way of the Yakuza, or even you could even go further with, you know, The Way of the Bushido, I think, which was like the code of the samurai centuries back. But yeah, like I said, these parallels are drawn, and a good example is one that I used in the taste test video, and that was when Tatsu went to buy a present for his wife's birthday, but then he finds out that she already has the, I guess, like the figurine that he bought for her, and so he decides to cut off his pinky, which is a type of punishment within the Yakuza. But yeah, his wife manages to stop him by throwing him through a window outside of the house. It's so ridiculous, but it's also so funny. Anyway, whilst reading this manga, you will be seeing a lot of ambiguity and double entendres. Tatsu often refers to having, you know, the good stuff, the grade A white powder or whatever you call it, but he always says that when he's talking about, for instance, I don't know, salt, flour, detergent. I do have to say though that in my opinion how well these type of jokes land vary a lot. I'm, for instance, not very big on the white powder jokes, but I do, however, think it's very funny when, for instance, Tatsu runs into one of his former Yakuza colleagues and you have these double entendres, and so that misunderstanding causes a lot of funny situations and reactions. And those actually are one of my favorite jokes within the series. Another thing that I think that makes this manga very funny is the juxtaposition with Tatsu and his surroundings. I mean, he's always doing something extremely wholesome, like, I don't know, taking cooking classes, cleaning the house, or going to the gym with other housewives. But the thing is that he looks so darn creepy whilst doing it. And I think the thing that really amplifies this the most are the facial expressions, and that is something that I really have to commend Ono for, because the facial expressions in this manga are fantastic. Definitely Tatsu, because every single time when, I don't know, Tatsu is happy or enjoying himself, you can clearly see it on his face. Like he's smirking, he's smiling, but he still looks so fucking scary. And what makes this situation even better is when you get to see the expressions and the reactions of the people who don't know him well and who think that, I don't know, instead of like inviting him into, I don't know, cook or something, they think Tatsu's gonna kill him. So I don't know, I just think that that's just brilliant. And I think being able to convey that type of comedy in such a way is very commendable. Yeah. I feel so nerdy talking about this, but I enjoy it just so much. I need to tell more people about this. So the running joke of a Yakuza leader being a house husband is pretty solid in my opinion. And I think this is mainly due to the particular structure of this series. So this manga doesn't really have a main storyline. You don't really have characters like heading towards anything. There's no overarching storyline. The way the manga prevents itself from going completely stale in a couple of volumes is by the use of a huge, diverse and likable cast of characters. And these are all slowly introduced so you don't get immediately overwhelmed by the sheer amount of characters in this series. So to name a couple of characters, you have the two police officers who are consistently trying to catch Tatsu doing some sort of criminal activity. You of course have his wife and then the parents of his wife. You also have the housewives from the neighborhood. You have one of his former underlings and just many more Yakuza members. And so in each chapter you have Tatsu interacting with these different groups, and this rotation is what keeps the story fresh in my opinion, because the different groups allow for different scenarios and thus different jokes. With the housewives, for instance, you'll often see Tatsu do a lot of these housewifey-esque activities, like for instance being part of the neighborhood volleyball group or going to yoga, things like that. And so the scenario that creates is Tatsu doing all these really housewife-esque things and doing it whilst looking incredibly creepy, and people in the neighborhood just freaking out because of it. Chapters centered around Tatsu and his former underling center around them trying to become better homemakers. And so that allows for different jokes to be explored. And so it really isn't this type of rinse and repeat gag manga. There are also usually a couple of bonus comics at the end of each volume, and I think at least one of them feature the cat that Tatsu and his wife Miku own, and I don't know, I just thought that was a really funny addition, so I just wanted to mention that as well. But yes, this series is wildly popular now, both in Japan and amongst English readers, and so there are actually two different adaptations, one live action and one anime, and I have watched them both, and I detest to say this, but I do have to say that the source material is far better than the two adaptations in my opinion, and I've already kind of explained that on my podcast in episode 2. Just to give you a quick reasoning for the anime, at least, in my opinion, I felt that it was trying to stay far too close to the source material instead of using the things that animation has to offer in order to make it even better. And yeah, that was my reasoning. And yeah, that's everything I had to say for this video. If you're looking for a fun and chill manga, just one where you can laugh out loud, then I would highly recommend The Way of the Househusband. But yeah, as always, thank you so much for watching. If you like the content that I create, perhaps consider supporting me by giving me a coffee or joining my Patreon. We have a Discord where we talk about anime and manga, and a book club as well for classic literature. So if you're interested in any of that, I have links to that in the description box below. But yes, like I said, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in another video.